successful woman is a tribe of other successful women who have her back. Hi, everyone. This is Maheen from Canadian SME, and I'm here to kick off the panel discussion on women entrepreneurship. And I would like to pass it off to my very good friend, Anna Sinclair. Anna is the founder and CEO of Total Mom Inc.
Hi, thank you so much for that introduction. Welcome everybody to the Women Entrepreneurship panel at Canadian SMEs Business Expo. It is with great pleasure that I am going to be here moderating this panel today. As a business and branding consultant to lifestyle brands, I'm very passionate about speaking up, about vulnerability and entrepreneurship, and of course, joining me are incredible women in this space and in this business. You know, since the pandemic, women have been impacted in unimaginable ways. We've all felt it. You guys know how it is. I know how it is. It's been a struggle. And especially in my community of moms have a lot of barriers they've been facing too. So today, I'm really excited to talk with some of the top women executives and really give you the confidence to face any challenges with some advice, some knowledge, some tools and tips from these top female entrepreneurs in this industry. I'm honored to be moderating this panel today and would love to welcome today's panelists who are going to be joining me for this conversation. And we're going to really, truly try to empower you and support you in the best way that we can. So I'm going to first kick it off with our first speaker. We have Priya Chopra. She is the founder and president of One Milk, Two Sugars. Huge fan of her agency. Diane Scott, chairman and CEO of the company's largest investment, JMCC Group. And DR Garan, the Vice President and Country Manager of GoDaddy Canada. That one's always a tongue twister, I'm sorry, Anne. And then Jenny Longo, the Senior Director of Private Brands, Culinary Innovation and Central Kitchen at Longo's. And Sherry Hewson, the COO of Wayfound Mental Health Group and EIR and faculty of SSB Queen's University. Whew, that was a long one, but I'm so glad I survived that. So after this panel, we are going to have a Q&A. So as you're thinking, as you're listening, please start putting down your questions in the comments below, and I will be able to keep my eyes peeled for some of those goodies. And that way we have like a nice amount of questions for the finale and the ending. So let's get started. So I recently read in Women's Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub report on the state of women entrepreneurship in Canada, which suggested that a 10% increase in women-owned SMEs could add to 198 billion to our GDP, and therefore everyone benefits when we truly create an ecosystem that, you know, promotes and supports women entrepreneurs. And I think that's why we're all here today. So I'm going to kick off the first question. And it really just pertains to the barriers that we women are facing. Diverse women entrepreneurs in Canada are going through lots of stuff here. We know this is what we're talking about on LinkedIn, on social. So it's crucial that we extend our arms to these women around the world and, you know, on the web and to each other's communities and show this love and support. There's more than enough room for all of us. So how are you celebrating women in your network and beyond and their accomplishments? Anne, could you answer this question for us, please?
Hi, Anna. Yes, sure. Thank you. First of all, GoDaddy, as a brand, as a company, has made a really strong commitment both to women as its employees, as well as helping women, small business owners and entrepreneurs develop their businesses. And in fact, we're really proud at GoDaddy that we do have 100% equity between what men and women are paid. And, you know, just as a corporation, we're starting from a strong foundation to then be able to help and enable women business owners in their journeys. And so some of the things that we like to do, I mean, first of all, I think the state of business ownership in Canada, it has still been predominantly male. If you look at older businesses, ones that have been out there for a long time. But what I'm really encouraged to see is in some recent data that we saw, it shows that over 51% of new businesses are being started by women. And so as long as I've been at GoDaddy, that's a first in terms of where we're seeing more women than men starting small businesses and becoming entrepreneurs. And so it's such a fulfilling thing to see, because I think it'll be, to your point, a very strong lever for Canada's economic growth to see more women starting these amazing businesses. And, certainly we're trying to showcase and celebrate that across what we do as a brand. And so, if you follow GoDaddy social, you'll see a lot of women entrepreneurs being featured. We're doing a lot of documentary style, longer form videos featuring women. We've got a new ad campaign coming out in early July. And again, we're featuring GoDaddy real small business owners from across Canada. And again, half are represented in this new campaign by women. And so, we're certainly trying to bring that message to other women who are thinking about starting a business or who've maybe started something and want to grow. And so we're here to, offer tools and resources. And certainly one of the secret powers of GoDaddy is, you can call us 24/7 and just sort of chat about, your business needs and what that might look like and how to sort of get started on that online part of your journey. And then just one more thing, we also have been a longtime partner with Toronto Raptors here in Canada, and recently did another feature with them where we celebrated a couple of female Black-owned businesses here in Toronto. So again, just really proud of the work that we're doing here in Canada, and certainly leveraging off all of what the brand is trying to do in the world.
That's amazing. I am so proud of like what GoDaddy is doing and really just kind of trailblazing how women can support other women. And I just find it so amazing that GoDaddy's finding these unique ways to create meaningful content that really can touch, move, and inspire women that can, identify and relate to some of these stories. I find that, creating content that women can identify and see themselves in is so important, especially when I started my company, moms looked one way. And so I just love what GoDaddy's doing. And it's really amazing to see kind of your role and how and what you're bringing to the table in that aspect. So
yeah, and just one more point, we are an all-female team here in Canada, and the heads of all three of my main agencies are female as well. So we're certainly bringing that perspective to GoDaddy Canada.
That's amazing. And so just another thing is for all the women that are sort of looking to use GoDaddy and are just like not sure where can they start in terms of, really accomplishing those goals? What are some of the things that you can leave us with that could help them get there faster right now if they're trying to grow and scale?
Yeah, I mean, I could go on this one, but I think there's a perception that getting an online technology platform can be hard. You might not feel like you have the skills or the time, or you might think it's expensive. And we've surveyed people to understand that those are sort of the three barriers. Right. And I would encourage people to just go look, because today's modern website builders are really easy to use. They're not expensive. And certainly, again, we've got our 24/7 support, so you can pick up the phone and call a GoDaddy guide. And we get rave reviews for our customer care, because it's really just there to support and encourage customers on their journey. And so you can call and ask them about anything. And it's a toll-free number, and they're just sitting down in Arizona, as a matter of fact, but love talking to Canadians and can certainly help any woman or any entrepreneur start thinking about how to get their business online.
That's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you for that answer. So I'm going to touch a little bit on the startup problem that we have. It's often said that Canada doesn't have a startup problem, but rather a scale-up problem. And so, of course, this is particularly true for self-employed and majority business and like women-owned businesses in particular. So as you know, Canada has a magnitude of incredible entrepreneurship training programs, incubators, development programs. I mean, we've all been a part of them. We've all attended them. So women, however, are still, they're currently underrepresented, in these programs too, because, we've got these gendered barriers going on. We've always had them. We're working on them. We're always working on them. But this has a lot of implications to how to increase women's entrepreneurship in Canada. How can we increase the amount of women that feel confident and comfortable becoming an entrepreneur, right? With all of these things going on. So, we have these implications. We need to support women. So what adjustments have you guys personally made to specifically support women? Sherry, why don't we start with you?
Thank you very much, Anna. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm just going to very quickly hit on the top things that everybody tends to say, and then I'm going to go to some controversial ones. So
Yes,
very
perfect.
quickly, some of the things to support people, specifically female entrepreneurs, is please get out there and mentor another female. Obviously invest. I'm going to mention SheEO, very inexpensive way to get in and help invest and support other female entrepreneurs. There's tons of female resources out there. Learn about them all and share those. Share widely all the resources, from funding opportunities to incubators for females. There's so much there. It is hard to find though. So find them, learn about them, help the others. Join female groups, join female membership groups, and then find great male supporters. There's hundreds of thousands of them out there that will really strongly support females. And so don't negate the other half of the population, that there are many that do care. A couple of unique or controversial ones that I also do to support female entrepreneurs is I also say, ignore when you're discriminated against. And I know others are going to be, oh my goodness, no, you got to speak up. And I can talk to this in questions if anyone wants to go there. But I've spent, since I was 25 years old, so a little over 30 years ago, doing exactly that. In any room, you're going to find 50% might be totally against you, and 50%, and when I started 25 years ago, there was very few females in the room. Just ignore the naysayers and the ones that have it in to get that they're not going to ever support you. There's 50% there that will. So I never dwelled on that. Just stop. Just focus on the ones that will help. Outmaneuver and outsmart. Females, we are cunning. We are the wise coyotes in the world. And so there's many tricks to how to outmaneuver, outsmart the naysayers. I'm not saying who those naysayers might be. There's multiple ways that you might find naysayers, from bankers to others. And also responding to investors, or even a banker, or anyone who's looking at your business. We know from research that the questions males are asked as compared to female entrepreneurs, males are asked future-focused questions, and females are asked risk mitigation questions.
Oh my
How
gosh,
are you going to
yes,
manage this terrible thing?
absolutely.
So Diane's going to speak to some of this a bit later, but we need to start educating each other on how do you ignore? How do you outmaneuver, outsmart, and how do you respond when females are asked? It's all of the education piece. It's helping each other learn from those who have already learned some of these tricks. And resiliency is a big piece, which we're going to speak in another question. Thank you, Anna.
Oh, that was so lovely. Honestly, it's so true. Reacting, how do we react? What do we say? Finding these incredible ways to just like squash that, but with poise and like confidence. Like, it's so annoying how men don't have to answer some of these things. And I remember a few years back, I was in a room with 5 men asking for $2 million for a record label, like an indie record label. And everything was aligned. Everything was right. Universal was behind it, the best radio programmer, the biggest brands. Like, we were working with huge artists, and they look at me and they're like, it's too risky. I'm like, how? So, I totally hear you. And I'm sure that a lot of the women here can relate. And do you want to touch a little bit on this question too, on how we can how you've specifically, supported women, or how we can celebrate?
Yeah, sorry. I just quickly, I think one of the things that we've done to support women entrepreneurs, and certainly during COVID, was to bring to bear a whole slew of resources. And we know, again, women, to Sherry's point, like mentorship and that sort of thing is so important. We sort of established that in a virtual format. So we created a program called Open We Stand. As businesses were shuttering their doors, we created this movement and brought in about 50 other companies to support this movement. And it just provided real world examples of how businesses were adapting and changing. What are some best practices? What are some resources that the government is bringing, consolidating that, free tools. And we worked with other organizations to help bring free tools and services to all entrepreneurs. But I think, and again, it really did help women entrepreneurs. So again, again, echoing also what Sherry said, just women supporting women, and just, we see that there are barriers, obviously, to any entrepreneur starting, but for women, who may have unique challenges as they start businesses, just encouraging them, and again, leveraging the resources. With a company like ours, you can start for free, with building your online presence. So just finding out what's out there and available, and then just asking for that help.
Yeah, I think asking for help is a big one. I think, women have experienced a lot of turmoil with that. Asking for help sometimes is very uncomfortable, but it's necessary, and I highly recommend it. It's how I've been able to grow and scale my companies. I believe that every business and brand truly does need to cultivate a community. Or a network of some sort. As a founder of Canada's largest network for moms, this has been it's just been the bread and butter. It's been the connection piece. It's been the reason and the reason why I wake up and do what I do. And it also takes your brand onto a whole nother level where people can actually connect on a meaningful level. Nurturing and growing networks is not easy, and it takes us very specific skill set, a group of people, and a lot of digital transformation to do so in today's day and age. So I just want to hear a little bit from Priya and Diane, a little bit about what is the power of building a network and how can you do that?
Yeah, I don't mind taking a stab at this first. I have been working on that for 15 plus years. My first business I started right out of school. I think I had maybe 3 years of work experience before I said, you know what, I know I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to give this a shot. And it's probably one of the memories I have that's the most painful. It was one of the biggest hurdles I faced when launching my business, because it's a catch-22. How do you get that break when you don't have the experience? You want someone to give you a shot, but they say, well, show me your work. So that hurdle was really, really an immense mountain, I would say. So it was a mountain to climb, especially when I had no network at the time. But now, 15 plus years later, that I've climbed that mountain and I can really reflect on it, I can say that it's really simple things that get you through it. It's the power of self-belief and it's persistence. And really, for me, that was all it took.
Wow.
I just kept doing it. And, in my line of work, I don't have a product. I'm not selling a product, it's a service. So it's even more intangible. So you really are selling the sun, moon, and stars and saying that you can deliver value without actually having something tangible in your hands. So you really have to be convinced in yourself firstly. Be convincing to your future clients. I used to do the cold calling. I really remember this. So now it's, it's a little easier because no one answers the phone anymore. So it's not even calls, it's emails. But having said that, today our business all comes through without a phone call. It's all inbound. It's all based on reputation and referral. And I mean, beyond just being persistent and hardworking and determined, I mean, you have to do good work. It's really just deliver and deliver on what you say. So that's really important to building that network and making sure you can sustain your business model.
So if you could give us one piece of advice on how somebody who knows that, their network, their reach, their followership, their subscriber list, what have you, isn't that large yet, what is one step that they can take today to sort of cultivate that connection, to really start gaining that followership, that community, that network?
Well, I'm going to go back to what I do every day. And I'm not just saying that's because I'm in PR, but you need to PR yourself. You need to build your brand. This is something that a lot of people, I was just speaking to a friend that's launched something new, and she was telling me her struggles in getting the business off the ground. It's only been a year or two, and she's also selling something very new to market. So, but I realized, and when I was talking to her, I said, well, right now you're selling yourself. You need other people to be talking and selling for you. So the third party endorsement is really huge. Getting word of mouth about your business from other people other than yourself, gets you that traction and credibility. So if you can invest in a little bit of PR and branding for your own image building, I think it does a lot. And it sounds cliche because that's what I do every day, but believe me, it works.
That's amazing. And Diane, do you have anything to add to the power of building a network?
Yes, absolutely. So I agree with everything Priya just said, and I will reiterate and take one slight step further is a combination of what Shari and Priya are saying is your personal brand is not just at work. And so your personal brand and your professional brand tend to blend a whole lot as an entrepreneur, I would suggest to you. And, in terms of building the power of building a network in our venture capital business, we've just completed a Series B raise that we did not go to market with. We went purely to our network. And we raised $25 million US. So that's the power of your network, ladies. Like, you want to know where to raise capital, get on the phone to your friends and family, because if you do what Priya said in terms of build a great personal brand that is extended into your business, one, they're going to then call their friends and their family, and you're going to be able to get some help with raising capital. I think that's number one. And number two, I would say in our medical cannabis business, of our 7 executives, 6 of them have worked with me in some form in the last 30 years. So has it been medical cannabis? Absolutely not. Banking, but highly regulated businesses. And I can tell you as a CEO, I can't be good at everything.
No.
So having a network where I can call and I know this sounds crazy. You've never worked in medical cannabis, but we're used to working in regulated businesses. That's what this really is. It's, this is a pharma company in all other ways. Let's talk about, would you be interested in coming over as our COO or, and my CFO, if I could add one other thing, find the best one you can afford. Because as you start building your company, building your brand, building your everything there, trust me when I tell you, payments will take longer, things will take longer. Having a great CEO to help almost hold your hand through that process is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And like fractional, even if you get a fractional for now, that's just amazing stuff. Like, just to understand, if you're not good at financials, just get a fractional CFO to break down your projections, maybe do some of the mathematics for you. Numbers are everything. And especially if you're going to raise, the investors are really looking at the numbers. They're looking at the business. Is it viable? Where is it going? And as entrepreneurs, we tend to look at the sales and marketing side of things. We have that hat on, and we're like, this is so great. This is my unique value proposition, and we're so passionate about it. We tend to sometimes not see the numbers. And so that's really great that you had suggested those things. Okay. Was there anything else to add on that one, or can we move on? Is that one good? Yes, Diane, you're good? Okay, so now let's move on and talk about this idea of a balance in our life. I mean, a lot of people would say this whole work-life balance, or the word balance, really irks them, especially mothers in my space and in my area. Like, moms are always just like, I don't need balance. What is balance? It doesn't exist. So, we know now more than ever, we're seeing that mental health, wellness, our personal time, this is something we're reevaluating, and it's a true value. It's like the most important thing that we are trying to get back. It's something that we took advantage of, and we didn't realize before the pandemic that it was this crucial. And as business owners, we struggle with shutting off, and some of you can relate to the burnout sessions that we've all probably faced when we want to achieve, and the late nights, the weekends. So I want to know, and I want to hear from Jenny and Sherry about how you create the space to recharge, and how women entrepreneurs can maintain wellness and achieve somewhat of a work-life balance.
Sure. So I'll go first. Good afternoon. I think that just given COVID, especially, we've all had to deal with added pressure of an increasing demanding kind of culture, I'd say, because it's everything, it's your whole life. So just really managing that expectation and dedicating, if you're working at home, kind of a workspace and time. I know it's easier said than done because we kind of all go, but really taking regular breaks. What I tend to do is schedule everything. So even have to make a phone call or do something, even if it's a simple walk, because if you don't, then your schedule just seems to catch up to you and sneak up on you, and you don't have time for anything else. And then I think it was what everyone said earlier about reaching out to even an informal resource, a friend, a leader, or someone to ask for help, or just to take a break, or just to change of scenery. You can go for a walk or something like that. But I think definitely the mental health has been more challenging than ever before. And I think it's just about the balance. It's just finding it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, mental health is just something that we're all struggling with in one way or another. And I find that in the women ecosystem, in the professional space, in the executive space, it's a little faux pas to talk about it. I just don't like that. So I've been spending a lot of time advocating and showing vulnerability as a leader, because I find it's super important for the people around us in our teams, our employees, our consultants, our just anybody in our team, even if it's a contractor that's in your space working with you with your brand or your company. Creating that space to show up as a human is super key. And I feel like also two women who are the entrepreneur, it's one step closer to healing and to feeling like it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to like step away and recharge and not have to be this perfect executive person all the time. Of course, Priya would say, you know, make sure you keep it super professional on the outside and whatnot. But at the same time, having those conversations to find space for your team to recharge is super key. Thank you so much, Jenny. Sherry, do you have anything to add here?
Well, I think I'm going to just play off what both of you just commented on. And of course, I can speak I'm CEO of Wayfind Mental Health Group. I could speak for the whole mental health side of things. But I think as an entrepreneur in my life journey, the biggest things that I've taken away from my own mental health is what we're striving for in life is not about happiness nor balance. That is not reality. And if that's your goal, you are going to fail, because life is actually about all the ups and downs and learning from the downs and celebrating the ups. And so self-talk as an entrepreneur, as a female and as an entrepreneur, our own self-talk is probably the most crushing mental health issue we have. And I want to let you know, I've been a millionaire twice. I've been bankrupt twice. I have been up and down this cycle as an entrepreneur. I have moved multiple times. So the struggles that come in this journey are real. And there's three things that I would say have kept me mentally well, no matter whether I was up or down. Because number one, everything is temporary. Please keep telling yourself it's all temporary. You're going to be really successful one minute and something's going to happen. And that's temporary too. And it's all okay. It's just the journey. And everything's temporary in the fact that if you make a decision, you can change your decision tomorrow. Don't ruminate on this stuff. You get new info, make a new decision. Don't even apologize. Yeah, that was a decision yesterday. New decision today. Number two, so one, everything's temporary. Two, you're okay. I personally was okay, no matter what was happening around me. Believe that you are still okay. I can go get a job as a waiter if needed, if my life collapses. I'm still okay. I can figure out what to do next, no matter what is happening around me. Please repeat yourself over and over again, I'm okay. And when you're down, don't try to be Miss Happy Pollyanna. Just get to okay. Okay is a great place to be. That's where I stay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm good. And number three, If you want to rewire your brain and keep it active and healthy and growing, your challenge to yourself to get a little balance is do something new and different every single week.
Oh
And
my
you
gosh, yeah.
will rewire your brain to take uncertainty, to take on some risks. You'll rewire your brain to enjoy a little bit of fear. Oh my goodness, I'm going to try something new, read something new, go somewhere new, walk in a new park, drive somewhere new, do something new every day, and you actually will help heal your brain. Thank
I
you.
love that. I love the neuroplasticity drop in here because it is so true. I mean, I took psychology for 6 years at Laurentian U, and I'm such a huge fan of the subconscious mind. And if you guys are listening and you don't know, 95, maybe even more % of our brain and our thoughts are controlled by our subconscious mind. And so that means whatever you're seeing things like, how you think about things, how you experience things are your reality. And so as an entrepreneur, it's super important that we have positive self-talk. And of course, like Sherry said, try new things. You can take a million courses, you can listen to a bazillion experts, you can do all of the development you want. But to actually see the change in your life, your brain is going to be tricking you. So you need to do some work on the subconscious mind and see things in a new light. So I love how you said that. Guys, take a look at neuroplasticity. Even Joe Dispenza, he's amazing. He's got some great content too. Okay. So moving right along, the entrepreneurship journey is long. We talked a little bit about the ups and downs. We talked about the bumps along the way. They're bound to happen. They're natural. And please do expect them. It's not going to be all ponies and rainbows. Priya, you started One Milk, Two Sugars. It's a bilingual communications agency specializing in digital marketing, public relations. I mean, you work with global lifestyle brands, and you started this in 2012, right? So, I mean, we've got a lot in common. We both run agencies. Obviously, yours is way wildly more successful than mine. However, we both probably understand how important and crucial branding is. In my opinion, it's one of the most important things to get straight when running your business. So can you share with us some reflections of your journey and touch on some important moments and realizations that may give some wisdom to the women listening around branding?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the lovely ladies in this panel have talked a lot about some amazing reflections that I think everyone listening can relate to. And it's funny because every entrepreneur you speak to, I find, I love speaking to entrepreneurs and learning about their businesses, and it can be so different than what I'm doing, but we have like a common link somehow. We just have faced similar situations. Even my husband, we joke about this. He's in food export and he knows everything about PR, and I know everything about food export just because we talk about business all the time and the commonalities that exist between the journey of entrepreneurship. As Sherry was saying, it's the journey. For me, one thing that I find is, well, there's a few things that I've realized along the way. And lately, the last few years, when things are more stable and when you will get there and it'll be that time where you can actually sort of delegate a team and manage, you have to kind of figure out your own place again. And this is something that took me quite a bit of time. It was, I wasn't selling anymore. I wasn't speaking to clients anymore. I wasn't the front person anymore. I was on the back end of the business. So this took a lot. It was sort of like an ego check, kind of like, oh, they don't need me anymore, but that's kind of a good thing. And then I started to learn about different things in the business that I never went to school for, that I never studied. And I truly love that. I mean, ask me things about operations, accounting, HR. I mean, all of these things I got to learn firsthand, which has been really critical to the business success. And it's also made me adapt my leadership style. People think the leader is the one you see, but it's actually not the one that you see. It's the one that's on the back, who's sort of empowering people to maximize their potential, to work their hardest and to discover what is their sort of passion. So for me, it was about figuring out my place. And that was something that I never thought I would experience, because I said, well, this is my company. I started it, but I had to kind of refigure out where I belonged, essentially. Another thing is being highly adaptable. Today, I hire a lot of millennials. We know, Gen Z is coming into the workforce in the next years to come. And it's funny because as a leader, you think, okay, it's my way or the highway, but in fact, it's not. I've become I've become an avid listener, really looking at the culture of a company. What is the defining culture of my business, which goes into branding? It's obviously aligned with my mission, vision, and values, but it's being carried on now by a different generation that has a different mentality. And it's something that I'm surprised myself to being open-minded about, and allowing them to have a part in that discussion and to help shape the company for the future. I think it's amazing, and I'm learning from them equally. So I think that that's been really, really humbling. The other thing just the last thing I want to say is, because we have so many tasks to do, and I know, talking about the mental health issue or challenges and workload, something that's really helped me is the 80-20 rule, which I'm not sure if everybody has heard about, but it's 80% of your results will come from just 20% of your action. And this is something that, if you think of your sales, how 80% of your sales might come from 20% of your customers. Or, another way to think about it, as ladies, you might own a gazillion shoes, but 80% of the time you might only wear the same pair. So it's really about thinking of where you're putting your time and making sure that you're prioritizing your time to add value to your business to drive it forward.
I love that. I love that. And it seems like you have so much you could share about the transformation of being the founder to like the leader, to then the back end of the business, to then creating the space for people to come in and feel like they're also a part of this bigger picture. So we've got one more question. We're going to power through this one because I know we've got some Q&As after this. So thank you so much, Priya, for that answer. I love that. Make sure you guys connect with Priya afterwards. You can find her agency and she'll put her thing in the comments below. So next up, we have a little bit about the funding ecosystem and a little bit about investing. We know that women are underfunded, they're underrepresented in that space. Over 83% of women-owned SMEs are, funded by personal sources of financing to start their business. And it's really, really, really tough, especially because us women are innovators. We come up with great solutions to problems, and we're still less likely to receive financing. And this is so super, super frustrating. And especially, I'm sure a lot of you listening already know and feel and experience this. So I'd love to hear some advice from Diane about what information, you could offer to the women listening today around the funding ecosystem, or where to start, or how to navigate these challenges that we women face with financing and getting at capital.
Great, thank you very much. I'll wear my venture capital hat here. In our venture firm, we look at investment pretty much like all other funds. You're looking at the finances, as we talked about earlier, and I want to qualify that we're not expecting our companies to day one have incredible financials, but you have to have realistic projections to get to great financials. That's a piece of it, yes. But then there's a whole other piece around two areas that are very important for us. One is what makes you different, and being able to clearly articulate why you're different. It can't just be because I know this is a great idea. What's the science behind that? What is the the recipe for ensuring your great idea is really going to turn into delivering on the financial outline that you're providing. And then we also have another really important piece, and that is societal benefit. So in our venture firm, we believe very strongly that you don't have to compromise profit in order to do good. And so we require all of our investments to have some kind of societal benefit, a program that specifically looks at that. For example, in the medical cannabis business, we have a foundation that was formed day one when the company was, that reinvests 10% of net profits into all our communities around the world that we work in. So that's just one example. If you want to get down to the real practical of this, right. Sherry mentioned an area or a group that I highly recommend every woman who's considering looking for capital have a good look at, and that is SheEO. I'm an activator of SheEO. The work they do is incredible. It's a $1 billion perpetual fund that is reinvesting in women-led businesses that, as Vicky would say, do the world, are working on the world's to-do list. But the other piece of SheEO is that you get that important mentorship. You all of a sudden have all these activators who have all sorts of experiences that are at your fingertips if you need help and guidance and wisdom. And SheEO will invest in, we vote on it, but will invest in women-led businesses for a significant amount of money. So that's your seed capital. And the other thing I would say practically is when you have your story straight and you have your financial story straight and you have very clear, what I call your house in order, it's the simple things is, how do you treat your employees? Do you have the employee contracts? Do you have policies? What are you doing with your marketing sales? Like, it's beyond just being able to talk about it. We're going to want to see that you have your house in order. And then truthfully, once that's in place, I think, you have to realize and ask yourself, what are you willing to give up? And that's a big question. Because when you are taking other people's money, that comes with big responsibility, whether it's convertible debt, whether you're doing equity, whether it's warrants, whatever it is, you have to decide what you're willing to give up. And don't be so quick to just take your first offer and take the money and go, oh boy, I can pay the bills this month. Be really clear on what your value is, the value of what you're building, and what you feel that you will be comfortable with in terms of giving up some kind of equity or finances in that. And then the last thing I would say is, please make sure that the group or the person or whomever is investing in your company shares, because if they don't, it can be a really awful experience. So do as much due diligence on whoever's going to be giving the money as they will on you.
That's such great advice. And honestly, just spending the time with SheEO. I'm an activator as well. So I love that organization. And I love seeing all the incredible impact driven companies that are in that ecosystem, and the ones that we're funding, they're working on the world's, like you said, the world's to-do list and covering so many important SDGs. I don't know if you guys know what SDGs are. If you're listening, they're sustainable development goals. And this could be anything from, your company sells crackers, but each dollar from a cracker goes towards hunger or something like that. Always think about your impact and how you can measure it. And also think about, like Diane had said, how much you're willing to give up. And sometimes we need to give up a little bit to have that bigger team or to have that funding to really take us on the global scale. Okay, so we're going to move on to some questions. We're kind of short on time. There's so much that we can just keep going. There's so much juicy conversation that we can have. I have a couple questions here, but we are allowed to go for another 15 minutes, I heard. So if you have questions, please throw them in here. And if any of our speakers have to jump off, we completely understand. We will not be mad. Okay, so what is the best piece of advice you have given to a woman entrepreneur? Who wants to answer that one? What's the best piece of advice that you've given? Diane?
That you're enough.
Love that.
I think that we just, and I've done it myself, you either sitting at the board table thinking my voice isn't, I'm not going to say something as important as these three other people, or truth is your voice is really important. Diversity can only help decision making, and you've earned the right to be there. You're enough in the discussion.
So true. And just speak up. Like, self-worth and worthiness is such a difficult journey. I feel like we all have different journeys in our life to like experience and learn and grow from. And self-worth is one of those ones that is truly a long-term, like for your whole life kind of thing. So we're always going to have to take it back to, I am enough, I'm important, I can do this. It sounds corny, but it's so true. And if you don't have positive affirmations, if you're not following some sort of positive self-talk, it can be a very lonely journey. And, you know, staying true to yourself, being authentic. I see that in the comments. We've got another question here. How do I calculate the investment and the expense, the return, and even my salary? Okay, there's a lot going on there. Diane, do you want to touch a little bit on this, or does someone want to jump in as well?
Sorry, can you say the question again? You cut
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. There's kind of a couple things going on. So there's, how do I calculate the investment and the expense? I think it might say expenses, the return, and even my salary. So let's break it down. So how do you determine your salary? And then how do you calculate the investment? So I think the person's asking about how much should I be paying myself? And also, how much equity should I be giving up for how much investment? How do I figure that out? And how do I determine that ROI?
Okay.
I think that's what it's asking.
You should be paying yourself market rate. There's no question about that, but you will also recognize that I don't know many entrepreneurs who have the journey that sometimes don't get paid so that their team can get paid first. And, you know, that's the reality of being an entrepreneur. In terms of how much you should give up or how you calculate that, you know, valuation of a company is more art than science, truthfully. And there's lots of formulas for doing it. And in the early days, it's never going to be a valuation. It's really just going to be about what you need, who's willing to give it to you, and the price of that capital. And and then you have to decide if that's, you know, an acceptable solution for you. And I suppose if you've explored all your other options, it's going to be, you know, you've got to go down that road. But I think we started out with saying, you know, there's a lot of options, and I saw Sherry has included quite a few of them in the comments. Beyond just CEO and traditional banks, they're not always as helpful in this space. So again, I think, you know, work your network, and there's no hard and fast rule. I can't tell you how much you should be considering. You really need to figure that out based on what somebody's willing to give you.
True. And get a lawyer, have a business lawyer, understand. Oh man, I say this to everybody. Understand what a split share, like what a shareholder agreement is. Don't get too excited about money first. Really understand what all of this means, and have an exit strategy. Kind of think about where you want to go, how long you're planning to be with this business. Are you willing to share this business? These are all things that, you know, investors are going to be looking at. They want an entrepreneur or a founder that is heavily invested in it, that they know will go through the grit till the end of days to see their return. So also think about those types of things. We have another question. So how do you build authority as a startup? Who wants to answer that question?
Fake it till you make it. I have to say, it's really funny. If you believe in yourself and you know you're going to be able to prove that you can do it, just say you can do it and figure it out. This is something that I have had to overcome because I was such an honest entrepreneur, and I'd be like saying the wrong things because maybe I hadn't done that before. And I was like, well, I haven't done it before. And they're like, okay, next. So, but I knew I could if I tried it and someone gave me the shot. So I think that is so important because you know you can do it. So say you can do it and then make sure you deliver on that. I'm super risky, obviously, as an entrepreneur, and I think all entrepreneurs have a certain level of risk taking. And then beyond that, I mean, obviously, you have to carve out your unique point of difference, you know, the white space in the market that is your space that you can own. There's thousands of PR companies in Canada that are successful, and we've had to figure out, well, where do we fit? What's true to us and what's going to stay, and keep looking at that and keep revamping that, and making sure your identity and your positioning is relevant with the times.
So true.
I'd just like to add something there too. And I think it's so important to have a professional looking online presence. And, every woman here has, put her website or has a website. And so that's important. And it's also important to have professional sort of domain-based emails. So you're not just a Gmail or a Hotmail, but you actually have your domain-based email, because it just gives you a leg up, and it does make you, like, nobody looking at your website maybe knows that you're just one person. You can have it look as professional as any big company, and you can have an email that makes you sound as professional as any big company. So these are just two pieces to consider in terms of how it kind of fake it till you make it too, right? In terms of making you look like a real professional, entity that has these things. So just another piece of advice.
100%, Anne. Like, that is, I mean, I'm sure Priya and I could both say, like, do not go out there without a professional email. Do not email anyone without one. And if you are, get it changed, get it going, get your brand looking top notch, even if it is, having some sort of starting point. I think as women, sometimes we can be a little bit, I'm trying not to generalize, but this is what I've heard from a lot of women is we tend to be a little bit perfectionisms. We want things to be perfect before we put it out to market. And we want our website to be that $50,000 website, but you don't need to spend $50,000 to look great. Minimalism is key. And like, sometimes you can keep it super fresh and have everything look amazing and start from there. So don't hold back. You don't need a huge team of designers, but I mean, we've got a lot of resources online where you can work with designers to get something up and running. We have a little comment here from Esther that says, "Thank you, Sherry. I loved your human approach to navigating entrepreneurship." I totally agree. Sherry, you and I both have that psychology, that mental health background. So it really does help in the psychology of business to work with people, and also to like be emotionally intelligent in some ways, which I believe in entrepreneurship, you're going to need a lot of emotional intelligence because you're going to be going through the ringer. Okay, we have another, oh, that's Sherry. Okay, so how long did you give yourself to reach goals? And the previous question about how much do you pay yourself and how much money do you need? Two things not mentioned yet is based on your cash flow projections, and as you move forward and figure out which of your assumptions are right or wrong, you change your projections to match that. Eventually, you will know what you can afford for yourself, if anything, and how much money do you need before you break even. This is where you start before you're at that share and investment stage, 100%. And I think one of the important things is, even if you have a small team, even 1 to 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, have a consistent day where you're checking on your financials. You should constantly be looking at, your targets, have some SMART goals, measuring those things, looking at those projections. Are you up to par? And even right now in today's digital age, as we're creating events, do you even need an event, right? Sometimes people just go and blow a bunch of money on events to kind of get out there. Events are very expensive. So sometimes you may not need to even sell tickets to an event. The event could be free if you know where you're going. So have that end goal, know how much you want to pay yourself, know how much you want to make, and understand your expenses and your projections. Okay, so I think that's all the time we unfortunately have today. Myself and on behalf of the panelists of this incredible panel discussion of women entrepreneurs and empowerment, we have gone through the ringer this year, but we're going to get through this. You guys know it. I know it. I really want to thank Canadian SME Expo for allowing us to speak about these topics today. Canadian SME has a bold vision, and together we're moving forward. It's such an honor to be a part of this mission. And I love being amongst other women that are doing powerful things and are really standing for the transformation of women in these industries. So thank you so, so much again for this panel. Ladies, thank you so much for your contribution and being a part of this. Congratulations to everybody that survived this year. Please reach out to us. We've left all of our contact info in the comments, or you can go onto the Canadian SME website and find our LinkedIn's and our website. So have a great evening, rest of your day, and I hope that this talk inspired you guys.
Thank you, Anna. You've done this so beautifully.
Thank you.
And thank you, ladies, for your insight on such great topics. You really covered some of the best key topics touched by our attendees. Again, women entrepreneurs need us now more than ever, and that's why our main mission was to bring about all the top female experts to help you learn why women-led ventures will be the backbone of recovery as we move along in the pandemic. This panel, I believe it gave the confidence to face any challenges with advice, knowledge, tools, and tips from these wonderful top entrepreneurs in the industry. We're now going to take a quick break, and I'll catch you all after another great panel discussion on diversity for SMEs that will begin at 1:45. Thank you all.